Hello and welcome to another video of Eternal Gains. This is the channel where I show you how to grow your stack in the most sustainable and most safe way. Now today we make a little trip to Avalanche, to the Avalanche chain, because I have to show you some Gigabrain project right here. This video might get a little bit longer because there's so much you can do with this protocol and there's so many strategies you could employ. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So let me get into it. We talk about Pendle today. What is Pendle? Pendle is basically, it's based off of options, traditional options. If you don't know what traditional options are, as the name says, it's an option. So you can buy the option to buy or sell something at a certain price at a certain time. Okay. Here you see already we have also an expiry date. Okay, so this is the first reference to options. So in traditional options, what you can do is, for example, if you buy an option on SPY, on the S&P 500 index, then basically if you buy an option today with a certain strike price, okay, then at the expiry date, let's say expiry is this one, December 28th, okay, 2023. So if the price of SPY at the expiry date is above your strike price, if you bought a call option gives you the right to buy something, then you made money, simply put. And if the price is below your strike price and you bought a put option, which is the right to sell something, then you also made money. Options is a whole other game. It's a huge topic. You know, plenty of books have been written about options, so I will not go into this too much. But just know that usually an option gives you the option to buy or sell something at a certain time for a certain price. Okay. Now, what does Pendle do? First and foremost, what Pendle allows you to do is to split the yield and the underlying asset from a yield-bearing token. Okay, and today I will explain you this concept with the example of MEMO. Okay, just a little side note: they write MEMO here, but in essence it means memo. I don't know why they put the W here, but we're talking about MEMO. So all these calculations are based on MEMO. Okay. The only thing is that you get your yield paid in MEMO. That's the only thing. But all the calculations and all the prices are based on MEMO, not on MEMO. What is MEMO? MEMO is the staked version of time. Okay. So if you stake time here in Wonderland, then you get back MEMO. And then you can wrap your MEMO, and this is MEMO. Okay. So this is the three assets right here. Now, let's see what we can do. First of all, if you come over here to trade and we come over here to the MEMO, then you see what we can do. If we had one MEMO, okay, then we could split our MEMO into this OT token and into the YT token, okay? OT stands for ownership, YT stands for yield token. Ownership token, yield token, okay? And I would get 36.5 of each of those tokens for one MEMO. Now keep in mind, MEMO is worth $128,000 right now, while MEMO, which has the same price as time, is worth $3,535 right now. Now this wrapped version is basically the rebasing what takes place so that your tokens increase. With MEMO, this is basically replaced. And instead of giving you more tokens, simply the value of this MEMO against MEMO is increasing. Okay, so that's the difference. And that's why the price of MEMO is much higher. And you can see here, one MEMO equals right now 36.53 MEMO. Excuse me. Okay. Now, why would you do this, right? What is the advantage of this whole operation here? Let's have a look back on the markets. As I said, you can split your yield from your token, okay? So for example, if you believe that the yield on Wonderland will come down significantly in the near future, or until this expiry date right here, then it might be a good idea to sell your yield right now, okay? You sell your yield right now, and you do something else with this money, okay? Of course, if you believe that the yield is going up a lot, then there's another strategy which I will show you in a second. But just know that we have a YT token and we have an OT token. The OT token, on the other hand, gives you the right of basically the ownership of the underlying asset, okay? So if you are owning OT, WMemo, then you are entitled to a certain amount of WMemo. And you can redeem this OT token at the end of the expiry for the underlying asset. Okay, that's important. You can, if you minted both of those, okay, if you put in WMemo right here, then you will see you get an equal amount of both tokens, okay? And you can theoretically redeem your OT memo at any time, but you will need an equal amount of YT tokens as well to redeem. Otherwise, you will hold this token, the OT token, until the end of expiry, and then you will be able to convert it basically back into the underlying asset. Now, there are basically two strategies we can employ here, two base strategies, I would say. The first one is you could go ahead, mint the two tokens, okay? You put in WMemo, you mint the two tokens, and you immediately turn around and you sell the YT portion, the YT token, which basically locks in the yield for you right now, okay? What you would have theoretically occurred in this time with the current yield, and you get your yield straight away. Of course, then you will have to wait with this OT token until expiry date. Okay, so you sold your yield, but you still keep the underlying asset. Okay, which is cool. Now, on the other hand, what we can also do is we can only buy. We can swap one of those tokens. Okay, so for example, of course not the OT token, but the yield token we can swap. So this is pretty cool. So what we can do here, we can come over here to swap, and then we can, for example, mint, I don't know, $100 or $1,000 worth of YT memo, okay, which would give us in this case 0.46 YT memo. And like this, we have basically leveraged our exposure to the yield only. Why? Because if you would just straight up go and buy the time token and stake it for memo, then you get your 60,000 APY on your token, obviously, right? But you will have to spend $3,000, or in this case, actually $3,500 to buy the time token, right? So you will need $3,500 to be exposed to the yield. Now, if you don't want to do that, or if you want to leverage your position, what you could do now is you could use this 3,500 instead of buying the time token straight away. You just come over here and you use your $3,500 to only swap this YT token. So now all of a sudden you are exposed to the yield for $3,500, right? Which is much more. You can see here it's 1.6 instead of 1. Okay, so you get 60% basically extra, okay, exposure to yield because you used your capital more efficiently. Okay, now obviously the risk here is that if the yield goes down significantly for time, then obviously also the yield you will get here is lower because now you're not holding the underlying asset anymore. You only and purely hold the yield, or you're only exposed to the yield. of this token, okay? But it definitely makes sense. Also for smaller amounts, you can say, okay, I don't need the underlying token. I just want to be exposed to the yield. So I go over here and I just buy straight up the yield token. And now you're going to be exposed to the yield until the 24th of February. What we can do, as I said, we can also stake, okay, which is pretty cool. So we can, for example, stake W MEMO and MIM. So if you come over here to stake, then we are able to stake our tokens, number one, or we can add liquidity. And liquidity provision works like that. We give our YT token plus MIM, and then we can provide liquidity, or we can come over here and we can stake our tokens to earn even a little bit more APR. Let's give it a second to load. Total stake 0.491, 1.5 million, okay, 195 APR, okay. So you see here the breakdown of what it is for Pendle and for swapping fees. So now we have already 3 strategies, right? What you can do, you can either just hold the 2 assets, which would be exactly the same as holding straight up MEMO, okay? Or you can sell your yield straight away, right? And then just hold the underlying token and redeem it when the expiry date has arrived. Or you could also sell, you cannot sell your OT actually. You can only sell it when you have an equal amount of both. Now, the next thing is what you can do is you can stake your tokens. Even this OT token you can stake, which is pretty cool. Or you can provide liquidity, and basically you get the yield and you even get some more liquidity APR on top of that. This is one thing what you can do. But now let's get into the Gigabrain strategies right here. So number one, we can come over here to Abracadabra, and then we come over here to borrow. Okay. Let's come over here to borrow. There you go. And now you will see we have a W MEMO pool right here. Okay. Now the only issue is what I have to say is that the MIMs left to borrow is an issue because this pool is very, very popular, and therefore the MIMs to borrow are very rare. Okay, which means if you want to borrow in this pool, then you need to be, spending a little bit of time and stay in front of the screen and make sure that you get a portion, because as soon as it's replenished, usually it doesn't take very long and it's empty again. So just keep that in mind. Either way, so what we can do now is we could stake our memo, then we could wrap our memo, okay, with this wrapping function right here. Then we could come over here to Abracadabra into this pool. Now we could borrow MIM against our W memo, okay. Then we take our MIM over to Pendle, and then we use our borrowed MIM to swap for more W memo, okay. So basically, leverage our tokens in 3 ways, okay. Most important thing is we always keep our original asset, okay. That's the key about this whole strategy. So we have our memo staked, our W memo, right? And then we use it as collateral. And even if we use it as collateral, it's still ours. As I said in all my videos before, always make sure to, in the best case, don't go below 40% position health, okay, when you borrow against it. So we use our W memo for as collateral. So we still own our W memo. And then we use the MIM, what we borrowed, to get a leveraged exposure to only the yield. I mean, this is absolutely brilliant, right? This is really Gigabrain right there. And then what you can do is you can take your W memo tokens and come over here and stake them, okay? So you are basically earning now in 3 places. Once you are exposed to the leveraged, exposed to the yield, then you get another 200% here, okay? And all that without selling anything. You keep all your original assets, and I mean, this is exactly how yield farming should work. Now, just a little explanation onto the numbers here. As you can see here, we have implied yield, and here we have implied discount, okay? Implied yield means simply based on the price of this token right now, which is obviously determined by demand and supply. The market right now thinks that the right APY on Wonderland is 43,000%. The actual APY is 65,000. Okay, so but right now basically it is the market values the APY lower than it actually is, and this would be actually a pretty good time to jump into this YT token and get yourself some exposure to this YT to the yield. Okay. Now here on the other hand, we have implied discount. You can see the implied discount was at 109,000 right now. Let's see, it's updating all the time. So now at 107,000%. So this is much, much higher than on Wonderland, right? So here we have 65, and the implied discount is 107,000%, which means if you straight up buy this OT token here, then you would get basically a discount on your memo, okay? And in this case, a pretty healthy discount, okay? So this is basically the mechanics behind it. And this is how you can really leverage your position, how you can leverage your capital in a very, very efficient way, right? And basically the main risks involved in this case would be liquidation over here. But also you don't have to do this step, right? You can also just take MIM, what you have, and buy these tokens. But if you really want to get out the max of your capital, then it might be a good idea to use the borrowing function right here. So step by step, first step is you get yourself some time. This you can buy on Trader Joe, for example. If you click over here, you can say, you can click on buy on Trader Joe, okay? So if you would do that, then we come to Trader Joe. Just give it a second to load. Yeah, my internet is not the fastest, as you can see. Okay, I understand. So there you go. Now, you can buy time on Trader Joe if you would buy it for, I have some USDC, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, to connect the wallet. Let's do that. Okay. Fantastic. There you go. So the first step is you buy some time. Okay. Then you take your time over here. Then you come to staking. You come over here, you stake your time. Then you get memo. Okay. Then you come over here to wrap, and then you wrap your memo for W memo. You click on wrap. Okay. Then you take your W memo over here to Abracadabra Money. You use your W memo as collateral. You borrow MIM against it. Okay. Then you use your borrowed MIM to buy YT memo. Of course, you have to make sure that this implied yield is lower than the APY here, okay? If it's lower, then it's a good deal, okay? That's the takeaway. Then you buy this YT memo, and then you use your YT memo to stake it over here, okay? You can either stake it straight away, single-sided, so you just need one asset, or you can provide liquidity, then you will need also some MIM to pair it with MIM, okay? Now, wait a second. They have even single-sided assets. That's pretty cool. Okay. So for liquidity, you can even only use one asset, but keep in mind in the background, it will split your input into two, into an equal pair. So even if you only supply MIM, you will get out YT and WMemo LP tokens, okay? Just keep that in mind. So if you want to do only one-sided staking, then probably staking is better if you want to do only with one asset, okay? So you put your YT memo into here, you approve it, you stake it, and there you go. I know this was a pretty long and pretty complicated video as well. If you guys have any more questions or any requests for future videos, just drop me a comment. And as always, I have my eyes open for you guys. If I find new opportunities, I will share with you guys first. So make sure to subscribe to this channel. I hope this helped, and see you in the next one.